this. Sunflower, come on in the room, tap those hearts. Now, I want to start with a question that sounds unbelievable, but it's true. What if I told you that slavery didn't just use chains, they use science? What if I told you that running away from slavery was once diagnosed as a mental illness by licensed American white male doctors? And what if I told you that some of the most respected universities and museums still operating today were built in part on stolen bodies, measured skulls, harvested hair, human skin bound into books, and bones turned into medical tools? This is not a conspiracy. This is not a rumor. This is not social media history, right? Everything I'm about to share comes from a primary source. Primary sources. This means that the documents written at the time by the people who created these systems, medical journals, court records, ship logs, plantation manuals, universities, and museums.
Every dawn is a doorway, and dreamers walk through on purpose. Here, we master mindset, raise oral intelligence, and rebuild legacy brick by brick. We honor who we were before the world tried to rename us. I'm Dr. Sean, dentist, alchemist, Niji, daughter of the land, and this is the Hood to Hooded show, where we transform, rise, and stay risen. Welcome to the tribe.
So, again, welcome to the tribe. This podcast is about positivity, inspiration, and knowledge. Tonight, we focusing on the knowledge to keep us motivated and growing, so you can know what we up against, what we have been up against, what our ancestors went through for us to be here right now. Okay? The first section I want to cover. Thank you for following. Uh-oh. Check my volume again. Stefan, thank you for following. These little bitty ass glasses I can't barely see. But I think they cute though, you know. We're gonna pick cuteness over sight. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right. So why slavery needed science? Because they had to hire the scientists to make this all legal, because without it, they couldn't prove why they needed the land, how they get the land, and why we wasn't smart enough to govern ourselves, right? To be in charge of ourselves. So slavery could not survive on violence alone. Violence creates resistance. So before the 1700s, they were stealing land, doing all these things through straight violence. And people weren't having it. That's why there was so many wars, so much conflict going on. So they said, we have to do something to stop this resistance. The resistance creates questions. And the questions will threaten their profit. So slavery needed something colder than whips. It needed authority. And where did they get that authority from? I'm glad you asked. I really am. That's a great, that's a great question. 3 pillars of control. What were the 3 pillars of control? Say it with me, tribe. Religion. I don't mean to hurt your feelings. They said God ordained this slavery on your soul. Some people don't want to believe that. According to, I can't see, just got the number 1 gifter badge. I might need to take these glasses off, but they just so cute, but they fucking me up. Okay, so when I need to read, I just need to take them off. So the first pillar of control was religion. The second one was the law. They said, this is legal. They said, not only did God tell me it was good for me to control you and do whatever I want to you if you don't listen to me, in God we trust is what they were saying. They said, this is legal according to us from our Roman Vatican from the doctrine of discovery. This is legal in their eyes. And the last thing they used was science. They said this is natural for you not to wanna. It's natural for you to want freedom and you shouldn't. How bizarre does that sound? Let's dive in. So once oppression is labeled biology, resistance stops being political and it starts being diagnosed. Tell me how the hell you gonna diagnose me with wanting to be free? Doesn't make any sense. But these were lunatics we were dealing with. These were psychotic people who just came to a land and felt like they could use these things to control us. So where do we get into the fake sciences of supremacy? Because a lot of people hear that word, they be like, "Oh, supremacy, we supreme." How, bitch? Let me calm down. Dr. Sean, calm down, girl. You're going too far right now. Let's calm down. We ain't even through this topic yet. But it pissed me off because the day I was wondering, let me just tell y'all how I got to this topic today. Am I feeling blue or not? I might be feeling a little hot, like red. Green? No, I ain't feeling green. I'm feeling a little red. Okay. Maybe I need to sip some water before I continue because this... Y'all don't understand. Studying history will have you all, like, pissed off, basically. So the fake sciences of supremacy. This was scientific racism, the foundation of it. What is scientific racism? This is the use of fake or manipulated science to claim that human beings can be divided into races that are biologically unequal. This wasn't a discovery. This was a conclusion written first with data forced to agree. What does that mean? It means that it wasn't true. It was just something they were doing to put us in categories so that they can hate us. The first term we're going to look into is phrenology. How do you spell this? Hey, you might want to get a piece of paper. I was going to do a presentation, but this day has been stressful as hell to me, so I didn't get a chance to do it. But we still going through with the topic. We still pushing through because I'm on a consistency challenge, and today is one of those days I could have failed because technically I am dealing with a lot. But we still show up because my ancestors, because of the Niji, because of the tribe, I can't skip a day because my energy gets heightened when I come into this room. Y'all tap those hearts. We communicate, we educate, we vibe, and I get off and I feel all the way live. All right. So phrenology, P-H-R-E, Nology, N-O-L-O-G-Y, phrenology, P-H, like a pH balance, R-E-N-O-L-O-G-Y, was the belief that a person's intelligence, morality, and personality could be determined by the shapes and bumps of their skulls. Now, how psychotic was that? But these were licensed American white male doctors trying to tell us that they could determine our intelligence and personality from looking at our skulls. This is what they claimed. They said certain skull shapes equal to leadership. What the hell? The hell kind of psycho-ass science is this? The other one said, they said certain skull shape leads to leadership. Now other skull shapes lead to obedience, savagery, and criminality. Now who was targeted? Anybody they enslaved was targeted. And it was saying, hey, according to your skull type, you are naturally obedient. Or indigenous Niji, a melanated autochthonous American Indians, the ones who was misclassified and relabeled as Negro African Americans. Some of them call themselves FBA. All right, all of us, right? They said we were naturally savage. This is people who was actually eating us, putting our hair in their pillows, coming over, doing whatever they want, putting us in the stew, talking about we savages. Okay, don't make no sense. It said that Europeans were naturally superior. I guess you superior at being hateful, at being evil, and deranged maybe. They turned skulls into resumes. These people were sick. Phrenology is now debunked pseudoscience, just like everything else we debunked. But this was licensed back then. This was the authority back then. But they debunked it now as pseudoscience. Just like everything else is pseudoscience. Then they went to craniometry. That's CRANIO metry. METRY. This is the measurement of skull size and volume to supposedly determine intelligence and human worth. So that's why you have them digging up the graves and going into the mounds and doing all these things, and without consent, of course, on enslaved people, on just anybody who wasn't white. They could do it on, basically. So they would measure the skull size. What's up, King of D's? Welcome to the room. Right? How are you doing? I'm doing fabulous. How are you today? So this was craniometry, is a measurement of skull size and volume to supposedly determine intelligence and human worth. What did they do? They stole skulls from graves and battlefields, filled skulls with seeds and lead shots, manipulated the averages, and ignored contradictory results. They didn't ask what the data showed. They decided what it needed to show. This is really not science, guys. Whenever you do science research, you actually want to get accurate measurements, not like make stuff up. But these scientists back then, they were making shit up. They didn't care. They was just trying to say, hey, we're not going to use violence. We just going to do this scientifically now. Thank you for following, Aunt Wig. If anybody else followed, you look gorgeous, sis. Thank you. I just do this song. But thank you. All right. So yeah, that was craniometry. Now we go to Crania Americana. Now this where the shit get creepy. This was in 1839. Like, I got census records from my ancestors that go back past this 1839 as inhabitants, but during the 1839 there was a book written by this guy. Your stream looks super polished. It feels like you've been at this for a long time. I have been at it for a long time. I think it's growing. It's definitely better than when I started in the dark space with no light. No theme, just on here just staring at the camera. That's how I started streaming. Like, okay, maybe somebody gonna come, and I realized that wasn't gonna happen. But consistency definitely pays off. Okay, that's nice. Do you stream at all? So we're getting into the book Crania Americana, 1839. Remember this book. Write it down. I love the glasses, sis. Thank you. Cream of the crap. I think I read that right. Or cream of the crop. No, I think that said cream of the crap. Where do you get that name from? Is it cream of the crop? Let me take these damn. Cream of the crap. I think that's what it say. Yeah, that's true. Consistency pays off. Yes, consistency pays off. I'm over 70 days live now. And what I'm learning about consistency, something to make you think. Cream. Oh, you're right. That does make me think. I just followed you. Thank you for following King of D's or King of Diz. I'm butchering the names tonight. Cream of Crap just got that #1 gift badge. All right. Thank you for following. I like how you talk to your chat. It feels like a real hangout, not a show. Oh yeah, I'm definitely engaging. If you talk to me, I will definitely talk back. I know I go into rooms and people, I be like, hey, I'm in here, hey, and they just act like they don't see you. It's like, I know you see me. You ain't that big now. Stop it. All right, so Crania Americana. This was a book written by Samuel George Morton. Write this name down. He was compiling skull measurements of indigenous and enslaved people. These skulls were obtained through grave robbing, military campaigns, and medical theft. And why does this matter? It was used to justify Indian removal, to justify enslavement, and it was cited as objective science. This was crazy. This was crazy. more and manipulated data to fit racist conclusions. That's why I say science was hired to justify racism. It was used to justify racism, guys. It's really kind of sad. Really, really sad. So the next one we're going to talk about is Types of Mankind. This was a whole nother book in 1854. I was curious what got you into streaming in the first place. I've been streaming since Periscope. You probably don't remember Periscope, but Periscope was like the first streaming platform, and I was on that, and then it shut down, and then I kind of gave up on streaming. I was in dental school at that time. What's up, love loves me? How you feeling? How you feeling? I see we almost to 1K hearts. But yeah, I started streaming during dental school. I streamed at my dental school graduation. I was the only one streaming, and my classmates was like, girl, what is that? They can see you. They can talk to you. I was like, yeah, girl. You know, so I've been streaming for a while, but I just love meeting people, talking to people, engaging. Streaming kind of give you like I don't know, serotonin. I don't really know. I just love it. Especially when you have engagement now. That's what really make it fun. So thank you, King of Diz, for coming in and engaging on Twitch. Hi. Somebody said hi. Hey, love loves me. How you doing? Genesis 12. What's going on? Absolutely. All right. So Types of Mankind was written in 1854. Do you usually stream around this time? I'm trying to catch you live again. Listen, right now my streaming time is really jacked up. It's supposed to be 8 a.m., but I've been dealing with a lot behind the scenes. I can't really talk about it on stream, but I'm only showing up consistently because I made a challenge to myself to show up 365 days. So a lot of days, like especially like today, I'm missing my mama. Like I need to call heaven and talk to her. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff right now. So me being consistent, showing up is really taking a lot. But I'm proud for doing it because I know somebody needs to see, hey, you can be consistent even when you dealing with stuff. You can still push through. So this is me pushing through in hopes that it will just help me just like get over what I'm dealing with, you know. But I am a little stressed out with dentistry, being a dental practice owner has me super stressed. So this is kind of like my stress relief, coming to talk to y'all and talking about history. Do you post when you want to go live on TikTok? That's a good idea. I should do that. I really should do that when I go live on TikTok, like in my stories, or I'm gonna start doing that at least like 2 hours in advance. I mean on Discord. I don't even use Discord that much, but I should. I gotta do better. I'm still trying to get it together. Because people want to know, so I need to do better. Great question, by the way. So Types of Mankind was 1854, written by Josiah Nott. He was a slaveholder physician. So these were physicians that actually enslaved people. Just like the presidents enslaved people, the physicians enslaved people. This was called polygenism. Okay, it was saying that this was a separate species theories. It said if we are different species, then slavery isn't immoral, it's management. Yeah, you can join my Discord server. The link is in my bio. It should be there when you click on the link. It's going to take you to the link tree, and my Discord should be in that. And it may be on my Twitch description area. All right. So Types of Mankind, they were basically saying that because we were different, that we were supposed to be managed. That didn't make any sense, but these were physicians who enslaved people making these laws. It just psychosis at this point, right? So what happened when people refused slavery, when medicine policed freedom? What happened? They weren't called brave, they weren't called human, they were called diagnosed. If they refused to listen to these physicians and say, you know what, you right, physician, you just said that I'm a different person, I have melanin, so this means that I'm less than and that you should manage me. And they were saying, hey, this is scientifically proven, we're the doctors, we know what's best. But they were doing this so that they could control the people who they already had enslaved. right? Now the next thing we're going to talk about is drapetomania. Now this is also where it gets a little deep. Really, really deep. Dr. Samuel A. Cartwright. Write his name down. Samuel A. Cartwright. Cartwright. Now these were some of his quotes. I'm going to read them one at a time. You process them as you may, as you want. But just think about what he's saying. Now these are quotes from his mouth at this time. Not something I'm making up or ad-libbing. I'm going to read the direct quote. So the first quote. Drapetomania, or the disease causing Negroes to run away. What the hell? That was what he said. He named this condition drapetomania. Drapetomania. Feel like I'm taking a spelling test, but this was a disease, they said, causing people to run away. It caused enslaved, indigenous, autochthonous, melanated, sovereign people to run away. You said they have a disease. It doesn't make any sense. The next quote he said was, quote, the cause in most cases that induces the Negro to run away from service is as much a disease of the mind as any other species of mental alienation. End quote. He was saying then that this was a disease. He just thought that this was a disease, that, hey, they want to be free. This is a disease. The next quote, if treated kindly, well fed, and clothed, the Negro is then liable to become possessed of the disease called drapetomania. End quote. He was basically saying if you treat them kind and dress them and feed them, they're going to want to run away. So you shouldn't treat them kind, dress them, or feed them. The next quote that he said was, the proper medical advice strictly adhered to will prevent the Negro from running away. Excuse me? The Discord link has expired. Is your username on Discord the same as on Twitch? Yeah, I think it's Dr. Sean TV on Discord. I hate how the link expires. I gotta find a link that don't expire. But yeah. So if you treated them kindly, well fed, and clothed them, the Negro is liable to then become possessed of the disease drapetomania, where they're gonna they want to run away. They act like running away from capturing and being seized and controlled by these white Christian pirates was a disease. It's just crazy. The next quote is dysesthesia aethiopica. This is a whole nother name. Dysesthesia aethiopica. I'm going to spell it for you. Dysesthesia. Ethiopia. Hold on. Ethiopica. Aethiopica. Aethiopia. Would I get that right in the spelling bee? I don't think so. So it's dysesthesia aethiopica. Dysesthesia. That's the first part. And the last part is Aethiopia. Dysesthesia aethiopica is a disease particular, they said, to the Negro race. This is what he said, Cartwright, in his book. That was his quote. Now I'm reading his quote. Dysesthesia aethiopica is a disease particular to the Negro race. The symptoms are a dullness of sensation, both of the body and mind, so great as to render the individual unfit for labor. What? The best means to cure it is to have Negroes subjected to severe labor in the open air. Right? It's crazy. This explains how trauma was diagnosed as a disease. how exhaustion was diagnosed as pathology, resistance was called insanity, and medicine was hired to keep enslavement intact. They were trying to do everything, the science, the legal, the religion, every way you could think of, they were on it trying to make what they were doing sound right. And now we're here all these years later reading what these people wrote, the quotes that they put that they thought was going to go down in history as something good. And now we just like, you thought what? Like, how y'all thought that? You thought we was what? Come on now. The next part that we're going to get into is the objects they made from our ancestors. Yes, objects. What did they actually make from our ancestors? They was mentally unstable. They was actually psychotic. Like, they was past mental unstable. They was just like, I really think they was smoking that white stuff. They had to be on something, heavy drugs or something. They had to be like it. How else do you explain this? Aunt Wig said they were making chairs out of us. Oh, that was one of the things they was using and making out of us. The reason why I came up on this topic and I did a little research is because I was looking at the book, The Delectable Negro, and I was just so confused at how you can actually eat someone. It just I don't know, it just turned my stomach. The hair eating us, yes, it's just crazy. But these scientists were saying, hey, you supposed to do this. They were saying this is okay to do this. They were saying, hey, if they try to run away, they got the disease, you need to, be more aggressive and violent to them. This is where they get rid of the disease. And hey, if you feed them and dress them and clothe them now, they're going to want to run away. And if they want to run away, they have a condition called drapetomania where they don't want to be held down by you. And that's sad. Like, I just can't understand it. I don't ever think I will understand it. My phone on TikTok is on 10%. I have to make sure I pay attention so it don't die on y'all. All right, so we were at what part? What they made from us. Our body parts, that is. Let me find where I am. Where is my list? So you're right. They made chairs out of us. They did. Books were bound in human skin. These are only documented items. I'm not talking about anything we're making up. I'm talking about things that are documented. Bound books in human skin. Hair used for mattresses and furniture stuffings. Yeah, books. They have a book actually like in Harvard or one of these places that is actually bound in human skin. So they were doing this a lot. They probably just have a couple of them, but this was their thing, right? Bones were used for tools and medical instruments. Teeth were collected as trophies. Now, as a dentist, this really, like, how y'all collecting teeth as a trophy? Skulls were cataloged, craniometry, and displayed. Buttons, knife handles, curios, they were making us into all types of things. The truth is horrific, enough without the myth. So you have people, no, this is actually true. And they were putting us in their food, like soups and, I don't even want to say it because it's just, we get to cannibalism and bodily desecration. So if they had starvation on any of the ships, they would result to cannibalism. Jamestown cannibalism was done by colonists. One story I read said that the men, these were colonists, they pulled up. It was the first few colonists that pulled up. I can't remember the name of the guy, but they were getting ready to try to go back across the water because they were at war. They weren't able to get to the interior. They were hungry. They were starving. And the guy unalived his wife, who was pregnant, threw the baby in the river, and then ate the wife. So when you think if they can do this to a wife, who are you? That's what I think. Like, dang, he did that to his wife and his baby in the name of hunger, then who are you? Who are we? You get what I'm saying? It's creepy. I know this stuff is creepy, but I just like to know the creepy stuff because I want to know what I'm up against for real. How did this transfer to now? So medical consumption of bodies, institutional harvesting of remains. This wasn't hunger. They felt like they were entitled to eat us. This was like calamari or caviar to them. It's just crazy. They put us in the universities, the museums, Smithsonian buildings. The Army Surgeon General has these collections of skulls and, these books and objects that were made out of people, right? It was just saying, like, you don't need a pass to return the bodies. You don't need to pass a law to return the bodies at all. They didn't care. Now, why does this matter today? If you've been on TikTok or YouTube, you've been seeing the women going into the hospital in pain, going into labor, being turned around. This happens more than you know. You've been seeing the people like who get treated different if they go to the hospital and they get someone who doesn't look like them, and they are extremely raised on these principles of racism. We got to get animalistic to beat them if they start up again. I don't think they gonna start that shit again. Cause who eat? You ain't about to eat me. We finna fight. Yeah, no. I think this was like psychotic. If they do this, I don't even think that's gonna happen. Y'all gotta find somebody else to play with. Yeah, no. Right? So this connects to pain bias. This connects to consent. How later on they were doing things like the Tuskegee study and a whole bunch of other studies, Henrietta Lacks, where they were doing things on people without anesthesia. What's up, Adiz Skits? I see you following on Facebook. It's King Adiz in the building. Thank you for following. Thank y'all for getting to the 5K hearts. I ain't even see y'all was tapping it out. What? We hit our goal of 1K. Right? I just want to say hi on Facebook. I appreciate it. This leads to diagnosis disparities, medical distrust. Our bodies remember what the institutions try to forget. That's why you only have 2 HBCU like dental schools, and not a lot of them are historically melanated medical schools. There's only like 3%. This is why you have those disparities when it comes to training us, because they don't want us to train. They don't want us to be great. They try to give themselves 100 schools and say, oh no, we got to approve y'all, and then you only give us 2. Come on, man. This is the society we still live in to this day. When people say, why does it matter? Why does it matter? Because we reclaiming our story. Resistance was never madness. It was humanity insisting, that you treat us right. They tried to turn our ancestors into objects. But we turned survival into a legacy. We survived it all. Right? We survived it all. So this history doesn't ask for guilt. It asks for honesty. We want people to be honest about the things that they did, the lies, like all of this science. Like, it's like, how can you guys continue to say you were great and supreme? None of this is supreme type behavior in my eyes. It's all like some, for lack of a better word, but some fuck boy shit. This is like, what? This isn't supreme. This is like disgusting. And now when we go back and look at the history, it's like we looking at y'all real crazy. Like, y'all did what? You call someone a savage? I think y'all really need to look the definition up, because that's just not savage. What we do, we trying to fight for our freedom. I just want to engage on both socials. That is too funny. I appreciate the engagement, seriously. I really do. So yeah, these fake sciences were used to justify slavery, which is basically the topic. It was used to justify like doing all this evil stuff to us. And that's how we got to where we are now. See you later, sis. I want to do something. See you later. Thank you for engaging, King of this. I really appreciate it. So they were doing this just to keep us in a state that they have us in now, thinking that you're less than, not really knowing true history, erasing history. Your streaming is fabulous and educative. Thank you. I try my best to, provide some source of education when I'm here. I started to come live and just whine like a baby. But every time I think to do that, I'm like, no, I have to show up. If I'm going to go live, I don't need to go on here like whining like a baby. You know what I mean? About life. Because that's not going to motivate none of us. And we are out here trying to get it in this crazy world, knowing the history that has been done to our people, eating us, all these different things. Like, it's just very, I don't know, traumatizing. It's traumatizing for our ancestors, but here we are with these laws, with these people who had this mindset to do these type of things, still governing us. This is how colonization happened. It was straight violence. Don't forget to add me on Discord. I can message you on Facebook if you have any questions. Okay. I'm still kind of new to the Discord thing, but I definitely need to update my link. I hope you have a great evening. So yeah. And then I have people just in the comments, the trolls. They like to come and talk crap, and they feel like what their ancestors did was so long ago. Okay, take care. Take care, bro. They feel like what their ancestor did was so long ago, but you still live off those laws and rules and history to this day. That's why our land, our property has been all stolen. And they walk around with a sense of entitlement because of this history. I'm sorry that my ancestors, the Niji, the tribe, doesn't dwell on committing these type of heinous crimes on people. Like, it's just ridiculous. And in this day and age, this is what we up against. This is what we up against. This is why racism is still so prevalent. You'll have things like George Floyd and Sandra Bland and Trayvon Martin and all these different people. Tamir Rice. You have all of these different people in the hands of the law. So this psychotic mindset transitions to the law. It transitions into white supremacy. It transitions to all these different things. And we have to have a conversation about it. There has to be a conversation about it. And what I like to see is when people who are of European descent come out and say, you know what, we was wrong, guys. Like, we was wrong as hell. Our ancestors was crazy as hell, and we got to actually admit that. Now, when we could get this pseudo-government to admit that, I mean, it's going to be a different day. But they know that if they admit that, the empire crumbles. They have to tell the world, hey, we did something so terrible to these people who we never gave reparations. Of course, the people who land they stole, the POWs, those are the ones who really do for money. But it's not going to come through the government because that will still be colonized money. Something bigger has to happen. Something different has to happen. That's why I'm always preaching sovereignty. We don't want you over our head. We don't want you all in our business no more, man, because it just shows that colonization has no business engaging with the Niji. It doesn't have any business engaging with the original autochthonous melanated copper tone Mississippian mound builders, the southeastern tribes. Y'all want to erase us so you can be over us and put us under the system against our will, and then act like you don't know how. It's just crazy. And I'm just waiting for the day to see this whole system crumble. It just has to crumble at this point. Because it wasn't built on anything good. And how do you make something right when the first 12, 13 presidents were enslavers? How do you correct that? How do you correct the history? Do you just teach that they was the founding forefathers and you skip all the rest of the shit that they did? Do you just skip by all the the Dreptomania? Do you just skip that part in history? Do you just skip all the redlining, all the racial reclassifications? Do you just skip all this stuff and you act like it doesn't matter when everything that is going on now, you guys benefited from that. Europeans benefited from that. They benefit all our back. And now you have so many other immigrants. I'm looking at Somali and I'm like, wow, they come over here, they getting money, getting grants, getting loans, they got good credit. It don't matter if they didn't have anything over there. When they come here, they got the fresh credit score. They getting food stamps, they getting all this stuff. But they always got the melanated people on the forefront acting like it's us. But we the ones paying taxes, working 2 to 3 jobs in the slums. Hurt back, hurt feet, hurt brain, hurt spirit. While everybody else getting money. They sending $1 billion here, $1 billion there, $1 trillion here. Yesterday I did the estimate. And over the time since the government has been instituted, I guess you could say, they sent about 25 trillion to other places. If you really think that they was going to give us some type of money, they would have been did that. If they doing anything, they trying to cut it off. Everyone else is getting money. The Afrikaners are coming here and getting money. They coming over here getting free house, Pampers, diapers, whatever. What happens to our community? What happens, guys? Where do we go from here? We could get on here, talk about this all day, pull up what they did here, pull up what they did there, talk about that, talk about this, everybody talking. What happens here? My phone about to die. Let me put y'all on the charger. Gotta put y'all on the charger. So you're gonna be a little low right now. They thought they were going to starve us out. They did. Preach. What do you think about what John Henry Hopkins did? What do I think about what John Henry Hopkins did? Well, let's see. So, John Henry Hopkins, he was the first presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church in the United States. He was a lawyer, a theologian, and a church leader. This was 1792 to 1868, one of the most influential religious voices in the mid-19th century. This was not a fringe preacher. This was institutional Christianity at its highest. See, this is why I go live. My school made me read him. What? This is the first time I ever heard about him. Now, see, when you go live and you connect with people from around the world, I just got to see a picture of him. John Henry Hopkins. Y'all go look him up. He was born January 30, 1792 in Dublin, Ireland, and became the first bishop of the Episcopal Diocese in Vermont. What? Yeah, some I've heard read the Japhetic Creed by Lord Lindsay. What? I got some research to do. So let's see what he did, because you asked me what I think about what he did. It said Hopkins did for religion what Cartwright did for medicine and what Morton did for science. That is crazy. So Hopkins did what Cartwright did for religion. He provided the theological justification for slavery. Oh my Lord. What you just got me reading? I'm not sure who. What? See, these are the missing links that we have to understand, because a lot of people try to downplay the religion that they use to brainwash and colonize us, but that was the main tool. That was the main trick, because they knew people would look at it like, oh no, they don't mean that, when actuality they knew that this would break your spirit. When you thought that it was lifting your spirit, they knew that once you got into this, they knew that you would be forever caught up in the matrix. That's the sad part about it. So he used the church to justify slavery. This is what I'm talking about. It ain't no way I could be a part of that shit, man. Together they formed the triad. The science, which we just talked about, the drapetomania and the other word, the SD, that other word. They had the science to say that we were biologically inferior. They had the medicine, which they were using the skull size to say that resistance was an illness. And then they had the religion to say God approves this system for them to enslave us. Now you just put me on something. I am not sure who. That's a funny name because when I said it sounded like I'm not sure who you are, and I'm not. That's funny. Now, his most important work was a scriptural, ecclesiastical, historical view of slavery. This was 1861. So you just helped me tie all of this together. And this was written on the eve of the Civil War. This book that this guy wrote was to defend slavery as biblically sanctioned, morally permissible, and socially necessary. Oh my God. And it was widely circulated among clergy and politicians. Oh my goodness. My brain is just like, I can't believe this. What? It's like whenever we need a little evidence, people are like, well, no, prove it. It's like we got every piece of evidence to support what we're saying. It's just that people don't want to read, because this is why they try to tell you to learn what you learned in high school and don't try to learn nothing else. Don't try to go deeper now. We don't need you to go deeper. We need you to be a worker, to be obedient, to not understand why we just doing it because we got the science and the law and religion to back us. But you don't need to worry about that. You just go on and be dumb. Live your life and think that you living the American dream, when actuality all you doing is living an American nightmare. Yeah, Jacob Boehme's racial alchemy was big during this time too. Wow. What class did you learn about this? I'm interested to know, because what? I can't believe they let you read that. Most schools ban this type of stuff. So core arguments Hopkins made. This ties definitely to what we were talking about with Cartwright and drapetomania and let me find the other word. Phrenology, craniometry. This ties into all of that. Polygenism. I already said drapetomania. Oh, it is dysesthesia Ethiopica. These words. But yeah, it says that Hopkins said, number one, slavery is not a sin. Oh, we getting somewhere here now. Hopkins said that slavery was not a sin. Everything, if you run away now, that's a sin, they said. If you try to run away, that's not only a sin, it's a disease. But if we enslave you, this is not a sin, he said. He said slavery existed in the Bible, and most people don't believe that. It did, but they changed the word to servant. I read that. They changed it. King James changed the word slave in the Bible. It was like, I don't know, 100 and something times, but he changed it all to servant except one time, so that they can bring it over here, and so you can read this book and not feel, I don't know, they really kind of got us in America. I don't know what they did, or I still haven't figured out why he did that move. I don't know. And it said Jesus did not explicitly condemn it, is what he said. He said Jesus didn't tell us not to do slavery. We was going to do it. It's okay. It's not a sin. And he said, therefore, slavery could not be immoral. He separated Christian morality from human freedom. He was basically saying, hey, as Christian white men, we got the documents to come over here and enslave and seize these people, because they're not Christians. Unless they become a Christian, then we can, not do these things to them, because we know then if they're Christians that they're going to be obedient. They're not going to resist. They're going to believe that something is going to save them later. But right now, we can beat their ass. Come on, man. He said that abolitionists were the problem. He claimed that the people who were trying to end slavery were the problem because they were disturbing God's order. This is crazy. And that was, end quote. He said they were disturbing, quote, God's order, end quote. Not something I'm making up. These were causing social chaos. So they were saying this is crazy. Like, this is crazy what I'm reading about now. This guy right here, I'm happy you came in tonight because this guy right here, he on a whole nother triple, double psychopath. He on the psychopath list. He said that resistance to slavery was framed as rebellion against God. Do y'all understand how deep this goes? This is why I wish so many people would wake up. What's up, Classy Cat? How you feeling? He said the resistance to slavery was framed as rebellion against God. This was Hopkins. This guy was crazy. And then he said hierarchy is divinely ordained. Hopkins taught that God created hierarchy. Some people are meant to rule and others are meant to serve and be enslaved. And you can guess who he thought that was. This paired perfectly with phrenology, craniometry, polygeism, religion filled in where fake science was leaving the gaps. So they just had this whole thing summed up. Everybody working on, someone over here changing the law, someone over here working on the religion and trying to make what they were doing right religiously and saying that God told them to do it. It really bothered me when I learned that the church funded slavery, because that's like an eye-opener for me. I'm like, what? And then when I read that, they were saying that they had enslaved people under the church while they were having church. And I said, oh no. And then you look at these people on the money, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, you realize they was enslavers on the money, and on the back of the money it say in God they trust. And then you start tying the dots. So you think you finna go to church, right? Handing $20 with George Washington face on it, and you gonna be some kind of way blessed? I don't think so. Anything had to do with someone who enslaved people, hunted them down, someone who legalized the slave patrol, who made laws to say that this was okay, who participated in black code, black code. All these things can't have nothing to do with spirituality. But these people were pseudo scientists, pseudo religious. They were pseudo everything. Everything was put and meant to kind of trick us, to make us think that something was good when it really wasn't. Right? Now, these are quotes from John Henry Hopkins. These were his quotes. Y'all already know I'm going to tell you the quotes exactly how he said it. So there is no in between. You can interpret it how you want to interpret it. But I am grateful for this information, because this was somebody who I need to get deeper into it than I am now. Now I got to go find his book. But this is 3 quotes that he said. The first quote on slavery and sin. He said, quote, "The Bible sanctions slavery, and the Almighty himself has never condemned it." End quote. What the fuck? The Bible said what? Quote number 2 on abolition. He said, quote, "The abolitionists are responsible for the agitation, the discord, and the danger which now threatens the Union." End quote. So he was saying the oppressed were not the danger. It was the people who trying to free them. If you didn't have your freedom papers, they made it where you had to have your freedom papers. We learned yesterday. You had to have your freedom papers, which turned into the driver's license, because with black codes, which was in place before the president, which was in place before like the Constitution and all of that, they made it where they were being violent and harassing people using these laws, using the religious stuff that they saying that God told them to do it, using all the pseudoscience that they had. They were making these black codes to justify why we had to be controlled. We had to have a curfew. We had to be employed. We could not be unemployed because that was lazy. We had to do these things. You had to go to work. If you didn't, you could be punished. If you got found with a book, you could be punished. If you were reading, you could be punished. They could lie on you, you could be punished. They could say anything, you could be punished. You didn't have any rules, didn't have any nothing. So they were saying that people who were trying to support freedom, they was the bad guys. This guy thought that, hey, y'all threatening the Union. Y'all responsible for the slaves having drapetomania and wanting to be free. It don't make no sense. I know it don't make no sense. I crazy. Back then, if you didn't have your freedom paperwork, even if you was free, they could still lock you up. They could still give you a charge. Y'all know that word. That's why 10 times more melanated men are going to prison and incarcerated here in the country. And United States has the highest incarceration rate in the world. Look it up. Who has the highest and most people incarcerated? I looked it up and I was shocked to know that it's the United States. And who are those people locked up? Most of these American Indians who have been reclassified, who think they black, who think that they savages, when in reality, no, you just up against a system that been trying to put you behind bars because they feel like you're a threat to the union. You're a threat if you want to be out with your family in a group. You're a threat if you're homeless. That sounds like the laws right now. Homeless being illegal. This started back then with slavery. It was illegal to be homeless. It was illegal after they destroyed, all the wall streets that we had. After they destroyed Seneca Village, after they destroyed all this, now it's illegal. It was illegal to be homeless. You had to have your paperwork to travel, and guess where you had to get the paperwork from? Their judge. To say that you were free. And you know they wasn't going to say you were free. You had to go to the judge and say, hey judge, write down that I'm Indian, write down that I'm indigenous, and I'm not black under these black codes. And the judge would say, no, you're black under the black codes because you got melanin. We don't have it, so we are supreme. We're over you now. This is crazy. The last quote that he said, quote, the law of God establishes inequality, end quote. What? Wow. He tried to link theology directly to supremacy. Love says vagrancy laws. Exactly. These things stem from slavery. They stem from these people who were so heartless. It's just crazy. This guy you introduced me to, let's get his name again. John Henry Hopkins. He's one of the most evil people I read about. Him, Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson. All the presidents, basically. All evil people. I don't care what you say. They ain't my president. They ain't my forefathers. They don't have nothing to do with me. Right? It's crazy. So he tried to show that slavery was not defended by ignorance. It was defended by educated men, institutions, credentials, books, sermons, and journals. So you guys can see that slavery wasn't an accident of history. It was an engineered system with intellectual support, right? So when people ask how slavery lasted so long, the answer is simple. Science said it was natural. Medicine said resistance was a sickness. And religion said God approved it. That's how it lasted so long, and that's how it still lasts right now. Right? It's crazy. So that's what we in right now. I just had to go over that so that we can continue to have these dark conversations that most people are scared to talk about. It's stuff that gets buried, but it has to be in the forefront. We have to know these things. Like, I would have never known about this guy had I not learned about Cartwright. I didn't know that he had a whole bunch of I can't even say I didn't know, because the more I read history, the more I learn about it, the more shocking it is. I can only imagine what books they hide in the Vatican. I can only imagine what books they have classified and hidden from us. I can only imagine. I'm not sure if I even want to know, but some part of me wants to know, because you have to know the enemy. You have to know how evil people really can be. So when you think you up against nothing, you up against people who really using their God to oppress you. They believe in their head, even to this day, that you're beneath them. They believe that melanin is bad. They see it as something bad. But I'm going to tell you what it is. It's just jealousy. Okay? You know, they wanted to prove that we were less. We see how that goes now. I just want all of us not to be enraged, but just be aware. Be in the know. So this will help you kind of understand why you've been tricked out your spot, why you've been reclassified, how you got reclassified, and why doing your genealogy, tracking your ancestors, seeing that you were tied to this land is going to be the thing that will empower you. It's going to be the thing that will get you reconnected to this land so you can stop being lost. Now, only you can determine your genealogy. Like, nobody could come and tell me, hey, you know, Dr. Sean, you know that you from here. No, because you don't know me. You don't know my ancestors. You don't know my parents. Only I could do that research. And it's detailed research that you must do. I'm always an advocate of having young kids know this while they're growing up, so that you can know your grandparents, your great-grandparents. Because once you do your family tree and you see that it takes 2 parents to make you, 4 grandparents to make you, 8 great-grandparents to make you, 16 great-great-grandparents to make you, and the further you go back, you're like, damn, this is a lot of people in my tribe. And you see none of them connected to Africa, it wakes you up. Hey, doctor, have you ever heard of Dr. R.L. Dabney? I have not heard of Dr. R.L. Dabney. I agree, knowing your family is super important. It is. It is, like, for so many reasons. I didn't know. The only part of my family I knew growing up was my mom's maternal side and my dad's maternal side. I never knew my dad's paternal side and my mom's paternal side. Never met a grandfather. But then when I did my genealogy, I felt like I met my grandparents. I was like, this is my people. I'm finding grave sites. I'm finding marriage certificates. I'm finding pictures. I'm like, it's just a surreal experience. You must know your history. So I didn't know. Puritan thought just said, did I know Dr. R.L. Dabney? I didn't know who this was, but I just did a quick search. So now I know. Well, I don't know, but I'm about to read it. It says, Dr. Robert Louis Dabney, 1820 to 1898. Wow. So he was a Presbyterian theologian. I can't read. Theologian, professor at the Union Theological Seminary in Virginia. He was the chief of staff to Confederate General Stonewall Jackson, one of the most influential Southern Reformed theologians in the 19th century. This was not a fringe figure. He shaped Southern theology, education, and political thought for generations. So, Cartwright medicalized resistance, Morton racialized anatomy, and Hopkins theologized slavery. Dabney systemized white supremacy as Christian duty and social necessity. Oh my God, how many of these creeps do they have? I don't know Dr. Dabney. I read a little of him. I think he may be bad. Yeah, what I'm seeing now, he was a bad person as well. So Dabney, as it's saying, let's get his name in case y'all want to go dig him up. He was a doctor now. Dr. Robert Louis Dabney. This is why they didn't want us to begin in the doctoral fields, because they was doing a lot of stuff that really wasn't scientific. They didn't really need to call themselves doctors, because mad scientists is what we would call them. So Dabney represents the intellectual fusion of religion, race, and science. That is crazy. It says he explicitly opposed abolition, which means to end kidnapping people and POWing people. He opposed racial equality. Reconstruction, integrated education, and universal suffrage. That's crazy. He argued that this is another person. So when you think that you up against nobody, what is your doctorate in? My doctorate is in dental surgery. In teeth. Right? He argued that slavery was biblical. Racial hierarchy was divinely ordained. Do you see how everyone is using religion to justify their enslavement of you? So this means that when you use religion as a way to get from under oppression, this is actually tying to these oppressors who using this same religion to oppress you. You thinking that it was meant for something else, but they're the ones who brought the Bible. Christopher Columbus brought the Bible to the West Indies. They didn't have it already. He brought the slave Bible to Barbados and the Bahamas. This is why these areas got colonized. Black codes, the Freedom Papers, this all came from Bahamas with those Spanish people, Portuguese people down there unaliving these indigenous Indians. Right? So this guy Dabney, I'm happy you mentioned him too, because this is a whole new person that I didn't know about. He said that white dominance was necessary for civilization. The other day we learned that the majority, the white population, really isn't a white population. They have a white population, but this block is full of 20 plus countries that are against the indigenous people. 20 plus countries. Not one, not two, not three, not four, not 10, not 15, 20 plus under the white bloc. And when you come over to America, you got to check a box. And this box determines the voting. So when they have all these different immigrants coming over using Naturalization Act, all this stuff to be voters, they feel like they're part of this system and they feel like entitled and white supremacy because they're all together. The Italians, the Poland, the Greeks, all of them, the French, the Spanish, they're all under one box, right? Are white people their own indigenous people, like in Europe? Now you just, what? White people are their own indigenous people in Europe? So they are indigenous over there, but then they come over here and they try to tell us we're not indigenous and still act like they're indigenous. They're not indigenous here, but according to the laws and the pseudoscience and the police brutality and the inequality and the drapetomania and the terrible history of enslavement, you would think they were indigenous. What they did to the indigenous people was lie on them, torture. We already know what they did. So much to oppress people to make them think that they were from somewhere else. They said, this guy Dabney said black political participation was dangerous, and he said equality will lead to social decay. Now his works was, if anybody want to go and look it up, A Defense of Virginia, 1867. Discussions of Robert Louis Dabney, his post-war essays, and he had numerous theological and political essays. So it take a team to look these people up because there's just so much information. It's just crazy. And they said that his works, where he's talking about slavery in the Bible, that slavery was ordained by their God, and white dominance was necessary for civilization, aka colonization, and that melanated people in politics was dangerous. They were reading this in the southern churches and schools. Yes, they was reading this in school, so the kids back then would know, hey, dang, because I am who I am, I'm less than. They're better. This is in the Bible. So now it's in the Bible that I got to be a servant and listen to them. That's why so many of us are docile and we listen and we don't question nothing and we just pray about it and keep it moving, turn the other cheek. And you see someone like George Floyd go through what he went through and we just move on with life, and you just see things like that and you feel like, oh no, something's gonna happen. No, they was reading this in school and in church. This is crazy. Now I got some quotes from Dabney and then we're gonna be done with this live. I got some quotes from Dabney and I feel like this is just crazy. I do have a question for you. Didn't colonization bring a lot of benefits towards? Hell to the no. Like Spanish stopping Aztec human sacrifice, or the Brits stopping Mughal Empire from killing women in India. Colonization has no positive benefits. Zero. None at all. My ancestors were indigenous. Now we don't have no sovereignty. Now we don't get nothing. Now everybody come over here. They get everything. They hold us down. They still try to reclassify us. They won't even let us self-identify. It's so many reasons why colonization in my eyes has zero benefit. Zero. Actually had a negative zero. You know, you can go negative. It was like negative 100 benefit percent. 0% benefit at all. Anytime you can come to a place, think that you control the people, use religion, use pseudoscience, use force, use torture, do things while they was asleep, red line, all this stuff. It ain't nothing good about that. Not one thing is good about that. Not nothing. Because right now we still dealing with the leftover generational curses from this evil hatred. You know, let's get into what Dabney said. Robert L. Hold on, let me make sure I get his name right. Dr. Robert Louis Dabney, 1820 to 1898. Let's see what his quote said. He said, "Slavery existed by divine appointment, and the word of God nowhere condemns it." What? His next quote, "The attempt to make the Negro the political equal of the white man is a gross absurdity." His next quote, this is a preacher now. This is a pastor back then. This is crazy. It said, "Human sacrifice or national sovereignty? Serious question. I'm a little confused." What do you mean? We want national sovereignty. I don't understand. You're saying human sacrifice or national sovereignty? I guess you want me to evaluate your question when you said, didn't colonization bring a lot of benefit? Like the Spanish stopping the Aztec human sacrifice. So how could they stop something called human sacrifice when they was coming over to killing people and doing the same thing? How was that better? You get what I'm saying? That doesn't make it better. Like one person is over. No, it's not better. It's all bad. It's all bad. Nothing is better in my eyes. I'm not going to say, oh no, neither one is better. Just not better. It's inhumane. It's psycho. You said there was no good things from colonization, but the colonists ended human sacrifice. How? When they was eating us, we just finished talking about this. How you saying that colonists ended sacrifice when they were eating us? Putting our hair in pillows, making us into furniture, putting our skin on books. That's the same thing, right? So it did not end better. It's actually the same thing. They just said, you know what? We're going to come over here and do it even worse. That's not better. That's no better for no one. The Spanish sided with other Mexican tribes to fight the Aztecs. I haven't really studied the Aztecs. I'm still stuck on the southeastern Mississippian mound builders. So I don't really know what happened with the Aztecs. But I hear a lot going on with the Aztecs because they were indigenous. I don't know. Seems like you know more about that than me, honestly. Right? So Dabney also said the experiment of Negro suffrage is a curse to both races. The experiment. Because racism and enslavement was an experiment. In the last quote, he said that the education of the Negro beyond his condition is folly and a danger. Again, I do mean this in all kindness. You very nice. I hope I didn't offend you. No, you didn't offend me. I mean, these questions have to be asked. I hope, no, I can't say I hope I don't offend anybody with the truth, because the truth is the truth. But I don't really know much about the Aztecs. But what you're telling me, what you were asking was like, hey, do you feel like the Spanish people prevented sacrifice? And it's like, no, the Spanish people were very evil. Christopher Columbus was nothing nice. This guy was psychopath to the max. And you think that he came and did something better than what the people who was already there doing? No. Absolutely not. I don't feel like nobody eating my ancestors or, you know, harassing them for having a book or telling them that they can't be in the tribe no more or they gonna go to. I know that's still sacrifice to me. No, I'm not sure who said the Aryans invaded India, replacing black indigenous and making the Brahmin caste and replacing Zoroastrianism with Hinduism. Wow. So what we're learning is that across the whole world, lands were melanated. These melanated lands got colonized. And if you guys don't know how they got colonized, it all came from Constantine around the time they restarted the timeline. Constantine in Rome in 313, he made Christianity legal. And then later they turned Christianity into the state. So they were saying, hey, we have to colonize the whole world. At this time, they only had about, I think it was 15 to 20% of the world. Now they have about 90% of the world colonized. Most places are colonized. I was doing some research for my Dr. Zuri cartoon series for the Galapagos Island. And I realized, dang, all these islands is named after these Spanish people. Isabella, Ferdinand. I was like, dang, so they just went everywhere and colonized everything. The Romans were melanated. The British people were originally melanated. Everywhere was melanated. You know? That's all a part of whitewashing history and trying to, you know, seize the land of indigenous people. Okay? So this Dabney guy, he proves that slavery was defended after slavery because he was after Emancipation Proclamation and he still was trying to push it. You know? So it went from slavery to segregation, from theology with these preachers and pastors who were saying, hey, this is in the Bible. The Bible says it's good for us to enslave them because, you know, God didn't say we couldn't. And it's not a sin if we do it. And then it went from the pulpits to institutions. All right. So I'm ending it now. But Cartwright, he said resistance was a disease. Morton said that inferiority was biological, meaning that it's biologically proven in their eyes that we were inferior. Hopkins said that God approved slavery. And this Dabney guy said that white supremacy was necessary for civilization. That's not ignorance, that's coordination. They knew what they were doing. So, you know, Dabney shows that racism didn't survive Christianity, it hid inside of Christianity. It hid inside of it. It still hides inside of it to this day. Someone said the other day, and I'm off of here after this, but someone said the other day that if you go to the parking lot of the MAGA churches, their parking lot is full. What are they talking about in there? You get what I'm saying? Like, it's still going on to this day. So, I hope that this opened the eyes of the tribe. I hope that this informed you a little bit about history, how it connects to now, helps us break the curse. I know that so many people are on different levels. I'm happy I showed up here tonight. I had a crazy day. I wasn't feeling good all day. I'm honestly stressed the hell out. I can't even lie. But I still push through and show up because I know that consistency matters. Showing up to the community matters. Y'all pumped 16.8K hearts on TikTok. Y'all be showing out. That's how we know the knowledge is flowing. I thank y'all for joining me on YouTube, on Twitch, on Facebook, on Kick, wherever you watching from. I know this was a tough topic to get into with Dreptomania and all of these different things, but to me, they just tied a puzzle together to help us realize where we come from and, you know, how far we have to go as a nation, as the world. There has to be some type of apology. Are we gonna ever get an apology, like, meaning like the pseudo government comes and say, hey, you know what, we stole everything. Listen guys, y'all indigenous, they're not gonna do that. So that's why the fight is on. That's why there's a knowledge war. And we win in the knowledge war because this type of history can't win nothing. You ain't ever gonna win nothing. Every time we go back in history, we find stuff like this, you're never gonna win. This is gonna make you fall and crumble every time. This is why they gotta teach the kids in school. All these people were so great. The presidents were so great. Oh, they were so great. Lies. All right. This is Dr. Chief, this Sunflower. This has been the Hood to Hood podcast. Let me know if y'all got any questions in the chat before I get off of here. Y'all had some very good questions. I mean, I'm not sure who. And Puritan thought y'all really opened my eyes to 2 new people I did not know had something to do with the religious side of slavery. That was Robert Louis Dabney and this guy that we talked about earlier, John Henry Hopkins. These are 2 names that I haven't heard of, and I'm happy that I heard them tonight because it just tied all together. It's sad, but it's just true, I don't know where we go with all of this history. I don't know. I hope that it just helps the trolls and the politicians, and I hope that more of us continue to wake up at lightning speed because it's definitely needed. We need every person to be on the same page so that we can break these generational curses. At the end of the day, that's the only goal, is to break these curses so that our children don't have to go through this, so that this world can be a better place. Because right now, going off of this type of history, this type of mindset, it's just not going to be a better place. It's going to get worse before it gets better, right? But I'm sending you all positive vibes. Thank y'all for chilling and chit-chatting with me tonight. I feel better. Hopefully we can go and tackle this week, continue to learn it. I will be live again tomorrow. Somebody asked me the time. It's supposed to be 8 a.m. I don't really know. We'll see. I got to do better with the time. But my thing is, right now, I'm dealing with life. I'm just happy that I can show up every day. That's it. That's why I show up so late, because I'm like, I'm not going to go live. And then I'm like, I'm going to go live, but I'm not going to really talk about nothing. And I'm like, nah, who am I kidding? My audience is not finna have that. Dr. Sean showing up not talking? Yeah, no. So I will see you guys tomorrow. It's been a blast. Well, not really a blast, but it's been informative. Night night. Good night, guys. Hand pink waving. Bye bye. Bye, guys. Oh, we almost got the 20K hearts. Thank you, Love Loves Me. Night, night. Bye, guys.